Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Season 2, Episode 12 of the Forge Podcast, brought to you by Shotgun Sports Network Alabama of the Shotgun Sports Network. My name is Ryan Messer, and we are back, and we've got a lot to dive into this week. The Barons came back home. The Stallions wound up hosting the Brahmas for a rematch of the inaugural UFL championship game. The Legion wound up going down to Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and IndyCar made its return back to Barbers. But before we get too far, I want to thank you guys for watching, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, or wherever you are hearing this. We also want to let you know that it is getting hot outside, so you guys need to keep hydrated. What better way to do that with the naturally minerally enriched water from Blue Spring Living Water? They keep us hydrated. They have been for the past year and a half. But you have no risk of contamination because it's bottled right at the source. One of the few places in the country that actually does it that way. So make sure you find it at your local grocer or go on to bluespringlivingwater.com for more information on how to get it delivered right to your home or office. And with that, this is Season 2, Episode 12 of the Forge Podcast. We're going to start things off with the Birmingham Stallions, who had a few transactions over the past week. Starting things off with Matt going to the IR. We found out that last week. And unfortunately, looks like he's going to miss the rest of the regular season. So Coach says he hopes to see him back in the postseason, but we'll see how that goes. As far as Ryan Langan, he was shipped out to the IR as well. So he would likely miss the rest of the regular season as well. But we did sign William Mote, and he's been getting a lot of chemistry with the special teams crew there. But Jamar is officially back with the team. He's actually going back with the team to Arlington, and we also did announce yesterday that Jalen Morton has been signed back. So this team's just coming back together like it used to be. So once we get Alex back and Jalen, and we got Jamar and Jalen, it's insane what this old team will look like. But we did have the game against San Antonio Brahmas on Sunday. San Antonio started out with the ball, but moved it really well on the first drive there, and wound up getting stalled out once they got into Stallions territory. But they did attempt a 41-yard field goal that was missed. But Birmingham was not able to get anything going on offense on that first possession. But the defense did hold the Brahmas to a 3-and-out following the Colby Wadman punt. Then Davion Davis had a 35-yard return on their punt that set the Stallions up for great field position for a Ricky Person touchdown. The next drive, the Stallions defense wound up holding the Brahmas to yet another 3-and-out. Case was seemed kind of injured off the previous drive there. Finally got to see Andrew Peasley, and they were moving the ball really well and got it into the San Antonio zone before Peasley was hit and wound up fumbling the ball there. The Brahmas did get it just into Birmingham territory before going 3-and-out. The punt wound up hitting the Stallions to their own 2-yard line, but with Kukas back, they quickly went 3-and-out. The punt this time pinned the Stallions back to the 7-yard line, their own 7-yard line, which also wound up resulting in another Colby Wadman punt. Just a bad couple series there for the Stallions offense, pinned up against their own goal line. Then the Stallions defense did hold them to yet another punt. This defense is insane. Coach Chamblin's got these guys on point right now. The way that they're keeping the yardage down. I think 80% of their yardage was off of 3 plays this past week. So it's insane how much this defense is actually doing to these offenses in this league. But the punt did go back for a touchback, setting the Stallions offense with a little bit of room to breathe this time, which is exactly what they needed, as they wound up getting past midfield before Case passed it to Amari, setting up for a 43-yard touchdown catch and run. Just an amazing play. The Brahmas wound up moving the ball up just a bit before kicking a field goal right before halftime. Then, coming out of halftime, Amari wound up returning the opening kick there for 31 yards before he wound up fumbling, but Madre Harper was able to fall on it there, and the Stallions wound up getting a single first down before going 3-and-out themselves, and the Stallions wound up holding them to another punt off the following drive, but Amari wound up returning that one for 25 yards across midfield, setting the Stallions up to go downfield just a bit more for the thicker kicker himself, Harrison Mevis, to kick a 49-yard field goal. The defense wound up holding yet again for another 3-and-out, and the next drive, the Stallions set up for Mevis for another field goal, this time from 50 yards. This guy's looking really good. The only kick he's missed this season was the kick 6 from last week, but other than that, coach is still putting that on himself, so he's not blaming Harrison at all. He's actually a really good kicker, but it is what it is. It's a game. You have to make decisions, and that was just the consequences of that decision. But Coach Chamblin and this Stallions defense has held the Brahmas to another 3-and-out following that kickoff. The Stallions wound up moving the ball really well, and Peasley wound up being back behind center. But they got the ball inside the 5 before Peasley wound up getting injured. So Case immediately got a little toss over to Jay Sternberger for a touchdown, and Jordan Thomas was able to convert on the only 2-yard PAT successful attempt this weekend for this in this game. The drive wound up killing half the time in the fourth quarter, and the Brahmas wound up moving the ball before Stephen Gilmore wound up intercepting it and stealing it for the Stallions to kill more of the time and pretty much stealing it for the Stallions there. But defense still really good. They cleaned up a little bit on the penalties. Still some stuff we got to work out. But like I said, this defense, it's insane. And the injuries are still racking up. This is going to be we have gone through 6 quarterbacks this season so far. So it's insane to see how much we are able to still win with such transition and fluidity in the roster there. It's hard for the team to get any kind of chemistry going, but it is what it is, but we can make it. They are back home Sunday against the Roughnecks, and the moms get flowers and massages, and kids get in free. So get the word out. Make sure that you guys know that we take on the Roughnecks, and we will see you guys out there on Sunday. Switching things over to the Legion FC. They announced this past week that they have a new head coach, Mark Briggs, who is from England, right outside of Birmingham, England, or Birmingham. He's been spending a lot of time in the European leagues, but is been here in the United States for a bit. But he did get to lead the team to a match down in Tampa to take on the Rowdies. Birmingham wound up coming out hot with Ronaldo and Danny both getting multiple shots off in the early minutes, but Tampa wound up being the ones to score first off of a penalty shot in the 26th minute. Coming out of halftime, the Legion wound up keeping the momentum going. Enzo wound up putting the ball in the net in the 70th minute. Then in the 75th minute, Danny finally found the back of the net there. And but then shortly after, the Rowdies wound up tying it up in stoppage time to seal the draw. Unfortunately, they weren't able to hold out and win this one, but we do have a match next Wednesday to take on Rhode Island FC. So make sure you guys get out there if you are able. As it stands right now, the Legion is 1-3-3 and in 9th place in the Eastern Conference of the USL Championship. So still got a lot of work to do. Hopefully this new administration will be able to turn some things around and turn the tides. Switching things over to the Birmingham Barons. They had a few transactions over the past week. On Thursday, right-handed pitcher Connor McCullough was sent for a rehab assignment to the ACL league there. And then Michael Turner was put on the 7-day IL. And they did sign Zach Franklin, or activate him, as the replacement for behind the plate. On Sunday, we found out that Jason Matthews was called up to Charlotte, and we saw last night that he wound up hitting his first AAA homer last evening as well. So, right-handed pitcher Chase Plumell was also sent to Charlotte on Sunday. And then we received Jared Kelly from High A, Winston-Salem. And then yesterday we found out we are getting Garrett Sheenley back from Charlotte to help out with our pitching there. So we did have a homestand versus Pensacola this past week. It started out on Tuesday where the Blue Wahoos wound up getting on the board first off of a bases loaded walk. And then in the 5th, they wound up scoring again. But in the 7th, Riku finally got the Barons on the board off of a William Bergoya double. Varus wound up tying it up with a single to right center. Out to right. And then the Blue Wahoos wound up getting another one in the top of the 9th. The Barons weren't able to get anything else going in the bottom of the 9th to tie things up or extend the game there, or even walk it off. But the finals were the Wahoos with 3 runs off of 2 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 9. The Barons had the 2 runs off of 5 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 3. On Wednesday, Birmingham got things going in the 2nd with Caden Connor bringing in Kalani. And then the Blue Wahoos wound up tying it up in the third, but they wound up taking the lead then in the fourth. And in the bottom of the fourth, Connor wound up bringing in Camilletti to tie it back up. But then Bergoya wound up bringing Connor in to take the lead. Then in the bottom of the seventh, Galaney wound up bringing in Bergoya to seal it for the Barons as they wound up winning this one 4-2. For this game, Pensacola had the 2 runs off of 7 hits. There was 1 error, and they stranded 8. The Barons had the 4 runs off of 9 hits. They stranded none. There was no errors, and they stranded 8. Then on Thursday, Pensacola got things going in the top of the first with a run there. But then Galaney wound up answering back, bringing in Riku and Bergoya in the bottom of the first to take the lead. And then in the bottom of the fourth, Riku wound up singling to bring in Connor. And then the Blue Wahoos went ahead with 3 runs in the top of the sixth. The Barons wound up tying things up in the bottom of the sixth with a Jacob Burke single to bring in Connor. And then in the 11th, Pensacola got a couple runs there. And Caden Connor was able to get a single run before finally losing there to Pensacola. But the totals for this one was Pensacola with the 5 runs and the 9 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 10. Barons had the 5 runs off of 6 hits. They had 2 errors, and they stranded 9. The game on Friday was postponed till Saturday, so the first game, Adam Hackenberg wound up getting things going with a single to bring in Connor in the second, and then Burke wound up bringing in Podkul. Then in the fifth, Gonzo wound up doubling to bring in 2 more runs. And the finals for this one were Pensacola with the no runs off of 2 hits. Could have been a no-hitter, but there was 1 error, and they wound up stranding a single runner. Then the Barons had the 4 runs off of 5 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 9. Pensacola got on the board first in the second game, though, with a run in the top of the first. And then Podkul wound up answering back by doubling in the bottom of the first, to bring in Gonzo. That would be the only run they were able to get as the bats went quiet. But the Blue Wahoos would go on to score twice more in the 6th and then once in the 7th to split the doubleheader there, setting things up for a win for the Blue Wahoos on Sunday for the win for the series, or if the Barons won, it would be a split series. But the totals for this game, Pensacola with the 4 runs off of 9 hits. There was 1 error, and they stranded 7. The Barons had the 1 run off of 5 hits. There was 1 error, and they stranded 5. On Sunday, Mario Camilletti wound up hitting a 2-run homer to bring in Gonzo to start things off in the second. Then in the bottom of the third, Gonzo went yard himself, bringing in Connor. And then in the top of the 7th, Pensacola wound up getting 3 back, but the closing pitching and the defense wound up pulling it through, splitting the series there with Pensacola. For the totals for this game, Pensacola with the 3 runs off of 9 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 7. Barons had the 4 runs off of 7 hits. There were no errors, and they stranded 5. They are down in Columbus this week, taking on the Clingstones. So hopefully they'll come out of there with a win. The Clingstones, notably, are formerly the uh, Mississippi Braves, but they wound up moving to Columbus, Georgia, and took on the uh, alias of the Clingstones. So they're still the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. So I'd love to get down there and check that out sometime. But the IndyCar made its return back to the beautiful grounds of Barber Motorsports Park on Saturday. The rain wound up having things wild and messy during practice and qualifying there on Saturday, but Alex Palou was able to get the top spot of the pole after qualifying to going into Sunday, and we wound up having gorgeous weather on Sunday. It was just so muddy out there on the infield and all around the grounds. There was a bad parking situation as well, but we did have a good race. There was caution free, and a couple of guys made some nice moves, but Alex Palou was able to maintain his position throughout the entirety of the race and didn't let up. As he wound up winning the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, and it was just a great weekend of racing. If you've never been, make sure you go next year. I know we have the GT race coming up in a few months in the fall. So Barbers is just such a great park and venue. We know it's called the Augusta National of Motorsports. So, in closing, like I said, a great weekend at Barbers, and a good week of baseball for the Barons, splitting that series there, and going down to see the play the Clingstones of Columbus. And the Stallions are back in the win column this week, and hopefully we'll see what happens on Mother's Day. The Legion didn't lose. They did draw again, but still not a loss. But that's about all we've got for this week. We hope you guys have a great night. Peace.